I've been spending time recently with De La Soul's Buhloone Mind State. It's a really interesting album of evocative production and consistently entertaining track list, a seminal and highly impressive series of tunes here. And I'm fascinated especially with, I'm reading older reviews of this release from Rate Your Music, the earlier ones from the 2000s, and I find the progression of this album's reputation in the discourse fascinating. Now it's considered seemingly a major classic, although I like the idea of these individuals going to a place called the internet and championing this album, hoping that their review gets out there in the ether. From Godson 14 on May 28, 2003, the third album from De La Soul, Buhloone Mind State, stresses the importance of discovery of self. Tracks like I Am I Be and Ego Trippin force a kind of deep self-cleansing introspection. Buhloone Mind State is also another example of how lyrically challenging this group of MCs has always been. Sax legend Maceo Parker joins the crew to blow impressively on I Be Blowin. There are also appearances from Guru and Biz Markie. Though Buhloone Mind State isn't De La Soul's greatest selling album, it might be the group's deepest and most creative. Its 11 songs prove that it's not quantity that counts, but quality. But then I really like and want to draw attention to this piece from GOZ, or GOZ, whichever you prefer, from March 22nd, 2007. Back in 1989, New Kids De La Soul became popular with their album 3 Feet High and Rising. Non-rap publications were feeling the hippie demeanor of De La on the album. Afraid of being foxholed, they came out with the dark De La Soul is Dead, even though the album is actually so light-hearted that it's a direct descendant of 3 Feet High and Rising. The fickle non-rap publications were turned off by how unhippie the album was and dismissed the album and the group as whack. Turn your pages to 1993. De La Soul released their third album, Buhloone Mind State. By this time, the non-rap publications had forgotten that De La Soul existed and were most likely shitting their drawers over Nirvana or something. It's quite an extensive review. I didn't feel the need to share all of it, though do check it out for yourselves. It is very, very amusing at parts. From Remarkable on December 25th, 2007, a criminally overlooked album, De La's jazz rap masterpiece. This is Prince Paul's third and last foray with the group, and his absence has been noticeable since. His eclectic sampling is as fun as ever, drawing heavily this time from jazz. Jazz luminaries like Maceo Parker even drop by, I Be Blowin. Lyrically, Poss and Trugoy are as clever and witty as ever, and this time particularly introspective and mature. The two singles, Ego Trippin Part 2 and Breakadawn, managed to be both funky and smart, two of the finest tracks of their career, but the high point comes with the brilliant I Am I Be, a reflection on the group's identity in life. Groove tracks like Eye Patch for terrific Patti Dooke featuring Guru of Gangstar and In the Woods keep things funky, highly recommended. And then from the previously cited Zephos, on June 20th, 2008, De La Soul's post-debut history is, as said before, stupidly underrated by the music press in order to fit some dumb narrative where they idealize the hippie image of 3 Feet High, an image De La never intended or liked. But even among heads, this album seems to get overlooked. Folks have heard of De La Soul is Dead, if only for its contrast to 3 Feet High, but after that they don't even seem to think the De La story is worth following through on. How wrong they are. De La evolved to feature 80s, 90s release massively, and Buhloone is no exception. Here we see them in transition of letting go of Prince Paul. It's no secret that a large part of the first two albums' appeal is what Paul was doing on the boards, and especially on the debut he outshined the MCs. Here is where that finally changes. The sample dealer and skit-heavy formula is dropped, and just in time, De La Soul is Dead took it as far as it could go, I imagine. In place, they moved to jazz rap, which may seem very cliche, but this is Prince Paul here, folks. It's one of the best jazz rap albums, sounding like its own thing, unlike either Tribe or Planets. As I was saying before, though, this is the first time where our MCs Dave and Posthumous have truly overcome the oppressive quality of Prince Paul and make the rhymes the true highlight of the record. But also a bit more from Nodima on the November 14th, 2008. I like this brief excerpt here. This album has a similar kind of momentum as the former, De La Soul is Dead. Both sound like a walk through various sections of New York. This jazzy sound roots the album a little more in Brooklyn and Harlem, particularly when Maceo Parker gets on his saxophone. Lyrically, the Plugs have decided to focus on all people who live life quickly and don't take time to think themselves through. The album refers to its audience as children once again, going back to the general perception that De La is for the weak and whack. Perhaps too poppy for some, this was the same year as 36 Chambers, and even for the poppy crowd, perhaps it really does not compare to Midnight Marauders or the Diggable Planets debut, or even still, this is a phenomenally, thoroughly enjoyable listen, and I think I'll probably grow to like it even more over the next couple of some experiences with it, and I just essentially wanted to put this out here as a brief memo for my own sake, more or less. But if it inspires anyone to go ahead and give this a spin, then I think that it'll be very worthwhile for yourself also. Trust, one of the more likable albums I've ever heard, and one of the most universally appealing I can imagine.